We're reacting to the Ruby Franke divorce. The husband wanted a divorce immediately. This kind of piggybacks off of what we did yesterday because my YouTube loves Ruby Franke news. This woman is a absolute shame of a mom, abusive, and I don't know how I feel about the dad. I think the dad allowed all this abuse to happen, maybe even partook in some of it, but he is trying to distance himself from that. Let's see. Let's go ahead and watch this. Let's react to it. And leave me your thoughts on this. Let's go.
If you're married, you have a commitment between the two of you. You have made promises to each other.
Yep.
And you have made promises to God.
We sit down once again with Kevin Franke's attorney, Randy Kester, after his...
Is that a bad thing? To make promises to God? And you made promises to God right into something else. We need to end up with that God part because we want to paint these, these Christians as bad people, or we want to paint these Christians as insane. I don't know. They're Mormon, so it's a little different. But you know, you made promises to God right into it. We have to end with that. We need to build off of that.
Client just filed for divorce from Ruby Franke, woman accused of abusing.
By the way, I'm a Christian. I don't sit around just abusing my kids, just thinking about mental abuse to put my kids through like this one does. Allegedly.
Their children. Welcome to Sidebar, presented by Law and Crime. I'm Jesse Weber. Okay, so we've been talking all about Ruby Franke and how her husband, Kevin, has now filed for divorce. That is big news in this case, if you've been following it from the beginning. And just to give everybody a recap, Ruby and her business partner, Jody Hildebrandt, they're each charged with 6 counts of aggravated child abuse with respect to 2 of Ruby's children who were found in Hildebrandt.
2 kids, 6 counts. 2 kids, 6 counts of child abuse. Think about that. These 2 children have suffered insane amount of damage. How much have the other kids gone through? What about the older kids?
It's home. The children were reportedly found malnourished. The son in particular had lacerations indicating that he had been tied up. Ruby, Kevin, their 6 kids, they came to fame back in 2015 when they started a popular YouTube channel called 8 Passengers, documenting their lives and parenting and homeschooling and marriage and so forth. And as we've discussed extensively, many of those videos were problematic. People were questioning the parenting techniques. So now, in the wake of her arrest, Kevin, who is denied having any knowledge of this abuse, he has not been criminally charged in any way. In fact, says he was separated from his wife, living away from her and the kids for 13 months at the time of her arrest. He now files for divorce.
Okay, so this is what bothered me about this yesterday. He's separated from his wife for 13 months. He knows that stuff is happening. Did he check up on his family? Did he check up on his kids? Was he worried about his kids, in particular with abuse? If he wasn't worried about the abuse, then he's a problem. He was the problem, and he's only getting the divorce now because it's going to national whatever. But 13 months he's been separated from his wife. Why? Why? I don't think this has anything to do with his kids. Personally, I think this has to do with money. And I think that, he's trying to separate himself now, because this is an opportune time now. But I think he had, it's personal now, allegedly. I think he allegedly had something to do with those children's abuses, and he needs to be locked up too.
Okay, so with that, I want to bring in right now a familiar face here on Sidebar, Randy Kester, Kevin Franke's attorney. He joins us once more to talk about this and the current overall situation. Randy, good to see you again. Thanks for coming on.
For the invite, I appreciate it.
So I'm going to start with the big question. Why did your client file for divorce?
Well, we've had reservations as we went along here and didn't want to complicate the custody issues in the juvenile court, but it's sort of been on Kevin's mind once he found out the full truth about how these children had been treated while they were in Ruby's care and some other things that have been going on behind the scenes. He his gut reaction was he wanted an immediate divorce back down the road. And then in consideration of what he thought might be best for the kids, he didn't want to create these barriers between He and his still his wife, who he loved very much and previously wanted to be back with and with his family. But just with all that's gone on and all that's been discovered, just thought it was the right time to do this.
So to be clear, during the time he was separated from Ruby and the kids and he was living on his own, he hadn't thought about divorcing her?
Oh, he was still desperately trying to get his family back together and go back and live with Ruby and have a good life. They were very connected as a family and as a husband and a wife, and I mean that was his whole goal. Even the objective of the therapy that he was this crazy therapy that he was being subjected to. His understanding of the objective of that therapy was that would reunite him with his family and reunite him with his wife once he was able to get around all of the faults that they felt that he had that would otherwise poison the family if he was at home.
And just to clarify, you mean the therapy, the relationship between Ruby and Jody?
The therapy that Kevin was receiving from Jody.
So if you could expand upon that, just so for people who don't know, what exactly happened that caused this issue?
Fair question. Well, Jody and Ruby had become partners through this connections business. Ruby had sort of dumped the 8 passengers thing in favor of this connections business that Jody was essentially, even though she wasn't president of it, this Pam Deutsch was the president of Connections, but Jody was the one doing all the therapy. She was the one recommending to almost a majority of her clients that in order to repair their families and repair their marriages, they needed to be separated. They needed to live apart because in her view, Kevin was lustful and Kevin was greedy and Kevin was self-absorbed. None of
Kevin was lustful. Kevin was greedy. And Kevin was self-absorbed. That's her husband. He's greedy, which means he likes to control his money. And now that she's been locked up for child abuse, which I'm not so sure he's not involved directly in that child abuse. He might not be involved in it in the past 13 months. But what about since 2016 when you started the YouTube? Huh? He wants a portion of that YouTube money. And the driving factor of that YouTube was the alleged abuse of Ruby Franke, who, yet again, her own son had to escape a house taped and tied up and starving.
of which was true, but through her.
And lustful? What does that mean? What, you look at some inappropriate images. He wanted to get with his wife too much. She didn't like it. What is lustful? All right. Anyway,
The therapeutic manipulation, she convinced him that he had characteristics and that if he stayed at home, he was going to poison the family.
So that's a little bit, and correct me if I'm wrong, that's a little bit different than our prior conversation, because my understanding was it was Ruby's decision that Kevin lived separately. Now it sounds like it was Jody's decision, or is it Ruby through Jody? Just so I understand.
It was Ruby through Jody because Jody was giving Ruby advice also that was not helpful.
Hey, everybody, this is a Morgan & Morgan legal alert. Evidence shows that Google has allegedly violated the privacy of millions of Americans via emails to sign up and find out if you have a claim. Let me ask you this. He filed for divorce. It signals to me, and I wonder if it signals to a lot of people, that if, and I don't know if Ruby's defending herself yet. I mean, it's still early, but it seems to me he believes all the allegations against her, that this isn't a misunderstanding, that he believes she abused the kids.
He believes that their children were abused by Ruby and Jody acting in consort with one another.
Did he speak to her about this? I mean, let's first start off with the idea of did this divorce come out of nowhere? Was Ruby taken completely by surprise by this?
I think she's expected it from day one. The last time she and Kevin spoke directly between one another was when, on the day of her arrest, she called Kevin and asked for his help with the kids. And they hadn't spoken for even months before that. I mean, over the course of the year of their separation, they spoke directly maybe 3 or 4 times in an entire year. And then that's why when he got this call just out of the blue, it really kind of took him by surprise. But I think, I'm sorry, I kind of went around your question, but
No.
but I think she's been expecting this for quite some time. I can't speak for her, but I can't imagine that she wasn't expecting.
So you don't know what her response has been or reaction has been to this divorce filing?
Haven't heard anything back. Haven't actually even served her. Don't even know if she has an attorney to represent her in the divorce case. I know she has a criminal defense lawyer, but not sure if he's going to undertake her representation in the divorce case or if she'll end up with someone else. But
By the way, criminal and civil. The divorce is civil. The criminal is the child abuse. I just want you guys to know that probably some people don't know that, but like if anybody's has followed any kind of true crime stuff, or if you're a lawyer yourself, or if you've been around a bunch of trials, you've been around a bunch of court proceedings with criminal, you realize that there's a difference between criminal and civil. Civil pays a lot more to lawyers than criminal does. Now, I've met a lot of criminal lawyers that make really good money, but I've met a lot of civil lawyers that make insane, stupid amounts of money, you know, from like defending companies or what have you. But yeah. So she has a criminal defense lawyer right now. This other lawyer has no idea if she has a civil defense lawyer or civil lawyer for the divorce, because somebody has to represent her on her side going into this divorce to get the best possible outcome for her. That's what that is.
We haven't even served her yet.
So it's interesting that you say that he wanted to, or he was hopeful that he was going to get back together with her and be back with the family, but he wasn't talking to Ruby. How did he think that he could, save their marriage if he wasn't even communicating with her?
Because Jody had convinced him that was part of the therapy program, that he needed not to speak to Ruby. He needed not to speak to the kids. She even had him abandon his relationships with his siblings and other family. He was essentially living like a pauper, away from his family. Barely kept enough money for himself to get by. Pretty much just going to work, coming home, engaging in therapy sessions. That was his social life. That was his lifeline. And she had him completely wrapped up in this program.
I wanted to ask you about the kids. First, how are they doing? And B, what is their reaction to the fact that their parents are going to get divorced?
Don't know what their reaction is. Don't even know if they know about it, because they're not in Kevin's custody yet, and they're not in Ruby's custody, obviously.
Where are the kids?
So, to the extent they know about any of these filings, I don't know. Haven't.
Dude, that freaking sucks. Okay, it's... Now, my parents didn't get divorced. They should have, because they were so abusive towards each other. Like a lot of domestic... I was raised in a household where we got beat all the time. And the parents would beat on each other. They beat on us. We had to choose sides. It was really weird. It's very psychological. Because both my parents, my mom, ex-convict, and ex-drug addict, my dad, both. Like, he spent most of his time in prison. He spent a lot of time in prison in San Quentin, California. Just so, like, they were treating us like to the best of their knowledge how to raise kids, which was as inmates. So, but I hear your parents going through a divorce is very shocking to children. It's very sad, especially when they see other parents with, their other families with parents that don't have a divorce, and the kind of the American dream is to have the one wife, the one husband, and they just have like this happy life where they go to Disney World once a year, all the normal stuff. I didn't get any of that. I did get beat all the time. So, I don't know. It's that kind of made me who the person is. I made my own decisions when I grew up, but I hear when kids hear that their parents are going through a divorce or getting a divorce, it's psychologically traumatic to them. So,
talk to Sherry or Chad. They're the two adults, but I'm sure the state's probably keeping the kids insulated from this.
Well, those are the adult children. So you're saying Kevin never even spoke to them about the fact that he was going to file for divorce?
I don't know. I haven't had a conversation with him about if he advised the older kids or not. My conversations have just been with him. So I don't know if he's advised the older kids or not.
As part of the... Well, let me just go as far as you can tell. So there's a lot we don't know about this divorce filing. Is there any? Can you give us any insight into what the grounds are for the filing? I mean, why he filed for divorce? There's always a number of different reasons and legal reasons, but
yeah, I wish it was a shoe. It was mostly this. This how my parents disciplined me. They would start with this. That didn't work. They go to this. Okay, and like if we didn't cry, it would like make them angry. So they have to go, get more and more fierce every time they attacked us. I think at around 10, I was bigger than my mom, so like nothing she did worked. So she'd always just go grab my dad. I remember she'd always like try to bite me. She wore dentures. But we're getting off topic on my childhood abuse. Let's get into this because no child should be abused like this.
But there's a lot of it we don't know.
I think we could all agree with that.
Well, in Utah, there are a number of alternatives that you can file under. You can file under mental cruelty, or the primary one that almost everyone uses is just simply to state there's irreconcilable differences. And clearly, in this case, the way that Ruby's treated the kids and treated the marriage and treated Kevin certainly, at the very least, constitutes irreconcilable differences. That wouldn't foster a marriage in anyone's life. So we just filed it under the generic term of irreconcilable differences, in that they certainly have differences of opinion about how to raise their kids and some other issues.
And those other issues, could you expand upon those?
I probably shouldn't at this point.
Okay.
I don't want to poison well in terms of our divorce negotiations.
That's understandable. As part of the filing, there was also this domestic relations injunction that was filed. Why was this filed?
That's the court. The court issues that in every case. That's a court-issued injunction. It's not initiated by the parties or the attorneys. That's just an automatically generated injunction that comes out from the court once a petition is filed. The purpose is to preserve the estate so that you don't have people transferring money away, hiding assets, going out and doing damage to the marital estate or the family during the pendency of the divorce case. So it's a good tool. I think it's a good thing.
There's a lot in there that seems kind of pro forma. Some of it I wanted to go through. There's a part that they can't harass one another, they can't physically harm one another. Obviously, she's in jail. I mean, that wouldn't happen. But it did make me wonder: has there ever been allegations of domestic violence in the relationship between each other? Has she ever harmed him?
Not a single time, nor has he her.
Okay.
There's never been an instance of any kind of, until these allegations came forward, there's never been any allegation of corporal punishment to these children, physical punishment.
There's been multiple allegations. There hasn't been any legal allegations. There's been multiple allegations of physical assault on the kids from the people watching 8 passengers over the years. I will do a video on that because there's multiple clips from their own YouTubes where people were like, oh, well, what happened? Did they abuse the kids? Why does the kid look like it? Why is the kid crying? Why does the kid got this mark on him? There's multiple. Okay, from a legal standpoint, he's the lawyer. He's the lawyer, and he has to lawyer in front of you guys. That's what lawyers do. So, yeah, there hasn't been any legal allegations, but there's been multiple allegations out there that these children have had corporal punishment or physical harm inflicted on them by their parents. Why would they inflict damage on each other when they could beat up their kids? Let's watch.
There's never been any allegation, and Kevin has been adamant about that.
He can be adamant all he wants to. There's been allegations out there since 2000. I don't remember when the first clip is, but there's a whole video of just the clips from Ruby Franke's channel where they post. Oh, look.
He neither physically touched or wrongfully touched Ruby, nor did she ever physically or wrongfully touch him.
Sure. Yet again, that's them to each other. They treat their kids like little robots. And if the robot gets out of hand, well, they discipline the robot until it changes. They actually treat them like human cattle.
Hey there, everybody. I want to talk to you right now about Palm, which
Goodness
is the next
gracious!
generation of pepper spray.
Hold on. 2 ads? What are we doing? You got 2 ads in here? Oh my gosh. All right, let's get on past Palm. Dang, he that's probably what, like 50, 60 grand. So that's $120,000 in this one YouTube. Dang.
10% for 10% off. There's another part of this that says there's a no disparagement clause. They can't talk bad about one another to the kids. How does he plan to do that? Because, his wife is locked up and she's for very serious allegations. I mean, how does he plan to not talk bad about her during the course of this?
Well, you hit right on it. You can't do that in the presence of the children. You can have all the dialogue you want, adverse dialogue you want between one another, maybe even in public, but you can't say any of those things in the presence of the children or in a venue that you have absolute knowledge that they're going to access. It's just a preservation. Kids, no matter what the circumstance, it seems like kids are resilient and sustain that love for their parents, for both of them.
Yep.
And I think the literature...
That's a good point. No matter how much I got beat up by my parents, I freaking loved them. I felt bad for my dad because he was always outnumbered. It was my mom and the 2 sisters just like railing against him all the time, and I would always stick up for my dad. I was the only person to stick up for my dad. And it was a weird thing because they would always pit us against each other. Very manipulative. I grew up in a world of just the parents pitting us against each other. And, anyway, let's get back into this. I don't want to think about all that nonsense.
Of course, the proposition that...
But to go off of that, I still deeply care about both of my parents, even though it wasn't an ideal childhood. But I'm here. I survived. So that worked.
Whenever you tear down a parent in front of a child, it takes a piece of that kid away because they're bonded to their parents. Yeah. So that's the purpose of that order.
You had mentioned that Kevin hasn't gotten custody of the kids back. Can you tell us what the latest status of that is, where it is, how he's doing at trying to get the kids back?
Well, there's a process that the court sets up. It's sort of a one step at a time. In terms of getting the kids back and in terms of helping them become rehabilitated from the trauma they've been through with Ruby and Jody. And I think that's the state's objective, is to work them through that.
By the way, I have noticed that about YouTube. I've noticed a lot more YouTube ads. I wonder what's going on with that. I do. I wonder what's going on with that.
Professionally, therapeutically, as is Kevin. And so it's just a step-by-step process through the juvenile court with the objective of returning the children to Kevin.
Do you know what the kids want?
I can't speak to that. I'm sorry.
That's okay. What about
Do you know what the kids want? I can't speak on that. So have they been mentally trapped? Well, he doesn't want to poison the well. So he doesn't want to make it look like he's attacking or assaulting Ruby Franke. because he's defending the husband in this civil matter, the divorce. He's not even. There's no criminal charges against the husband yet, because the children were found in Ruby Franke's care, abused, tied up, starving, dehydrated. Oh, what a bunch of psychopaths! I mean, they were literally found that way. The 12-year-old? The 12-year-old escaped. He escaped, thank God. And he thought his mom was trying to kill him. And she was. But she didn't know it, because in her mind she was doing something right. Maybe something religious. Maybe she thought she was doing divine right from God. Who knows? There's a lot, dude. There is, in every religion on this planet, there are people out there that take it to some extreme to justify their own mental ends, and they've got mental problems. Every religion, every non-religion. There's some atheists like that too. There's some agnostics like that. There's mental people, mentally handicapped, mentally. There's psychopaths in everything. There's extremists in everything. And she was using her religion, probably in her own mind, to justify how she treated her own kids. And that's disgusting. That's dangerous.
Shari and Chad.
Oh, they're getting along great with their dad. They've spent a lot of time together. They were all together, actually, over the Thanksgiving holiday. And spent some time together as a family, and Shari and Chad are in constant contact with Kevin.
That's not
Probably
that's good
daily.
Because that's good to hear, because we did see reporting that there was tension between Shari and Kevin with respect to her coming to the house. He was curious if or not a police report could have been filed against her, criminal charges been filed against her for coming into the home. So how did they work through their differences?
Just by discussing with adults, one another, father to daughter, and they went through all that. It was, a lot of it was circumstantial. There were tensions, and feelings were running pretty hot after that arrest of Ruby and finding out how Russell and how their children had been treated in Ruby's custody. I think even the older children were upset about that. Kevin was certainly upset about it. And
yeah, because that's your brothers and sisters. That's everything. What a psychopath this mom is. The dad might be too. The dad might be. He's here to defend his client, the dad. But I think it's going to come out in trial. I can't. I'm just putting this out there. I think it's going to come out in trial that this dad is not as innocent as he seems. But for this lawyer, he has to make him seem as innocent as possible. I don't think this dad is scot-free of this. I think there's some abuse that he's directly involved in, but we'll find out. What do you guys think? What do you guys think? In chat, what do you guys think? Do you think that this dad is completely innocent, or has he been a part of this abuse? Remember, this has been going on since 2016. We are now in 2023, and this child was found back in August, wrapped up, taped up, tied up, lacerations, starving, sleep deprived, thirsty. Escaped from the house, had to get over to a neighbor. The neighbor cried seeing the child. He cried. The neighbor did, seeing this child. My sister's still in there. Please save my sister. From his mom. A YouTube celebrity, 2 million subscribers. And the dad had no idea about this? So the dad hasn't been around the mom for 13 months. We heard about that. He didn't know?
And tensions were just running pretty high. There was some finger pointing going on, but they've resolved all that. Kevin was particularly upset that the front door of his home had been kicked in and things had been gone through, and the house was a mess. And
Kevin was particularly mad that the front door of his house was kicked in, that his things went through. They had to kick open the door to get the children! Your kids! You psychopath! They had to open the door so they could get your kids out of your crazy wife because you're worried about the police going through your things? What about the children? He was mad that they kicked open the door. They had to get your kid out of there.
He'd even been told that third parties who weren't even family members had been able to get into the house and take things or rifle through things or just walk through. And so when he found out some of his personal electronic materials had been taken,
Right.
He was upset with Sherry.
Hold on. Some of his personal electronic this happened back in August. They got the kid out. 4 months. The wife says that he's lustful. They got his personal electronic stuff. They allegedly abused, and actually, you call it whatever you want to. They did arrest. They're going through his personal electronics. Some of it's missing. He's filing for divorce now. All right, I'm going to put some stuff out there. If his stuff is missing and he's lustful like his wife says, you know what this sounds like, right? Because like in my head, first thing I'm thinking about is like predatorism. Do they have stuff on tape about their kids? This is a wild claim, guys. This is a wild claim. It's probably nothing, but that's where my mind first goes. So it's a wild claim, and none of it's true. It's just that's where my mind goes. I'm just putting it out there. Anyway, forget that claim. That's terrible, but it could be.
But they've resolved all that. They're best friends now.
They're best friends.
It's good to hear. I was curious when the news broke that he filed for divorce. It made me think of Ruby's criminal case, and I was curious if the decision.
By the way, all alleged, for legal purposes, all alleged.
To file for divorce was motivated at all by what role he could potentially play in her criminal trial.
No, we didn't talk about that. He wasn't a witness to any of this. If the state decides to call him as some kind of collateral witness pre-crime, I guess he'd have to go and testify. But that hasn't even crossed my mind that he might be called as a witness in the criminal case. His deliberations with me have been with regard to what's best for the family, what's best moving forward. And Ruby, to some degree, has already sort of parsed out. I don't know what, if any, jail time she's going to face, but I suspect there will be some, during which she can't have custody of the kids.
Yep.
So he hasn't had like follow-up conversations with prosecutors or law enforcement, to your knowledge?
Not to my knowledge.
I did want to ask you about this other development because we were actually doing a story on this when the news broke of the divorce filing. And it concerns Ruby because, as you said, she was working with Jody at Connections, and she was titled a certified mental fitness trainer. And
This monster, certified mental fitness trainer. There is no certification for mental fitness trainer unless there's some other person that says, hey, I'm a mental fitness trainer. I'm certified. I certified myself. I'm going to certify you. Boom, bang, bing. Give me some money. I will say that you're certified. What qualifications do you need to be a certified mental fitness trainer? What college do you have to go to? What learned teachers do you need to learn from before you get one of those? certified mental training. What mental fitness? You abused and starved your children.
TV
Allegedly.
reported that
Allegedly.
Kevin had asked Utah Senator David Hinkins to review the state qualifications to becoming a life coach. Apparently, there really aren't any qualifications, and Kevin wants to change that. What can you tell us about that?
Well, because of the way that things went down in his case and others that he's other people that he's talked to, the process, the capacity that Ruby was serving in was sort of on its face a professional capacity, when in fact she had no qualifications to be acting as a life coach or
Yep.
mental health counselor. She doesn't have any of those qualifications other than just a common experience that most people have. So yeah, there are some concerns about that. I have concerns about it. I would hope that a lot of citizens would have concerns about receiving mental health advice or family counseling advice from people who have no qualifications.
Facts.
So I think Kevin did the right thing.
What's
And
the
I think
status of that? Yeah, like what's going to happen? What's his conversations with Hinkins?
Don't know. Well, I think it's going to be between Hinkins and the legislature and the Division of Professional Licensing. They're the ones who sort of impose these restrictions on professionals who have to be licensed through them. And in this case, Ruby didn't have to have any kind of license.
I guess
was giving out.
I guess the question is like, there's one thing where he definitely he definitely faults Jody for what role she played. But in terms of Ruby's qualifications or lack thereof, what is he particularly troubled by with respect to Ruby? I would understand if it was about Jody's qualifications. Why is he bothered so much about what Ruby's qualifications and what she was telling people?
Well, that's a good question. So to some degree, Ruby had previously, as through the 8 Passengers website or YouTube, had been sort of giving out, I don't know, just personal advice. But then when she hooked up with Jody through connections, then it became Ruby sort of being Jody's mouthpiece in some instances, and Ruby was convinced that the advice that Jody was giving her was good professional advice, and I think sort of started parroting it to other people. And so in that respect, I think people were taking Ruby's advice as the advice of a professional because of her history with 8 Passengers and now her role in connections. Actually sort of had some official capacity in connections with Jody. And I just think it creates a perfect storm where you've got someone who in public has this public face of being able to give good advice about raising families and maybe, in fact, even personal situations one-on-one. And yet she was sort of mixing up her historical involvement in that and giving advice. Then you combine that with this bad advice that Jody was giving out. Ruby's parroting it to people, and including Kevin, saying, this is what Jody's telling you in the men's meetings. This is what I'm telling you from my own perspective in dealing with Jody. You've got to stay away. The family's just in a blissful form. Without you, you've got to stay away. You can't contact him. You can't contact me. You'll poison us. That was coming from Jody, but nonetheless was coming from Ruby's lips.
Got it. Okay, that makes sense. And look, Randy, before I let you go, I just wanted to wrap this up with understanding what is Kevin looking for in this divorce. You talked about there's going to be possible negotiations with her side if she ultimately, it was when she's represented by counsel here. But what is the goal? What does he ultimately want in terms of assets or property or his life with respect to this divorce of Ruby Franke?
Under Utah law, it has to be an equitable division, including an equitable division of the debts, equitable division of any real estate they have, financial accounts, personal property, and income. It's just it's a state where it's a 50-50. It's a 50-50 deal. So we've got to plug in all the other factors that sort of come into this, because it's sort of a catch-22. There's a lot of kids involved. If Ruby were working, there would otherwise be probably child support involved, but she's in jail. So the financial burden of raising the kids is going to fall completely on Kevin. He can't be looking to her for any kind of financial support. So we got to sort through that in terms of the kids' economic well-being, and then sort through trying to figure out what's an equitable division of their assets.
And real quick, the money that was earned during the course of the 8 Passengers channel, if I don't know what kind of money was earned, if what money was earned, but how does that play into this?
Wherever that went, if it went to the purchase of assets or if it got socked away, it's a marital asset. It's a 50-50 division.
Randy Kester, always appreciate you coming on, giving us a little perspective about what is happening with your client, and we look forward to talking more as this case continues more. Randy Kester, thank you so much.
Thanks for the invite. I enjoy being on your show.
All right. So that's us reacting to this this nonsense. We'll be doing another one tomorrow at around 10 o'clock. I just, the thing is that I'm so sick and tired of this Ruby Franke, allegedly, from what she's done to the child. But all of her children. Now I'm more interested in what that dad's got on his electronics that are missing. You know? Went through his stuff. What stuff has he got? What stuff's he got? I'm curious now because he's lustful. I don't know. It might be nothing. But that's it. I'm going to go ahead and cut this live off and then put this over on my YouTube. You guys all have a great day. And guys, we are having that giveaway for the 2 Fortnite cards on Thursday. One $5,000, one $1,000 card. And the third keyword is Kai Cenat. So the other 2 keywords are out there. Watch this full YouTube and check this out. You guys have a great day. Oh, and also subscribe. You have to subscribe. There's no other way about it.